He forces the student teacher into his arms, gently taking a strand of her hair in his mouth, then leans in close to her ear and whispers something. The female teacher is absolutely livid, struggling to get up, but he pulls her back down with one hand. This domineering move causes his gang of followers to cheer and applaud. Some even pull out their phones to record a video, twisting the truth by claiming that the teacher was the one who insisted on sitting on the bully's lap. Unsurprisingly, you only see students this wild in South Korea. And this lawless school bully's parents must be some chaebol, wealthy conglomerate family. This bully, Soo-Kang, relies on this fact to rule the school with an iron fist. He constantly orders his henchmen to inflict violence on classmates who annoy him until they pass out, then slaps them awake to repeat the torture. He even created new ways to maximize the pleasure of bullying his classmates by changing rock, paper, scissors. The bullied student is only allowed to choose rock, and the bully gets to slap them every time they lose a round. To add insult to injury, Soo-Kang broadcasts the entire bullying process over the school intercom for all the teachers and students to hear. The piercing slaps and curses are like an invisible knife constantly hanging over the students' heads, making everyone live in fear of being the next target. The teachers are also powerless to do anything because the entire school belongs to the bully's family. But bullying students and teachers isn't enough. The bully also extends his claws to the parents. There's an elderly woman who sells kimbap, seaweed rice rolls, at the school gate. The bully sees this and says she's embarrassing him. He throws all of the old woman's kimbap on the ground, then stabs cigarette butts into the kimbap and forces the old woman to eat them all. The grandson runs over to beg for mercy for his grandmother. Just for speaking up a little too loudly, he's beaten to a pulp by the gang. Then, the bully forces the boy to kneel on the ground and eat all the soiled kimbap. From that day on, during lunchtime, Soo-Kang locks the boy in a dark room and only releases him after the school cafeteria closes, then throws him some spoiled kimbap. If he doesn't eat it, he gets beaten, and if he eats it, he gets beaten. Everyone feels sorry for the boy, but no one dares to say a word. Until a student teacher arrives, the bully's good old days are about to come to an end. The teacher's name is Seemin. On the outside, she's an elegant and pure girl, like a white lotus flower, always smiling at everyone. But in reality, she's a countless-time undefeated boxing champion. Not long ago, to pay off her father's gambling debts, she secretly went to underground boxing matches, and as a result, she was banned from competing permanently. That's why she has to hide her identity now, and has only just managed to get a position as a student teacher, even to be transferred to a permanent teacher position. When she faces the lecherous gaze of the supervisor, she can only nod and bow in agreement, then hide alone in the bathroom to vent her anger. So you know she doesn't want to cause trouble at school. But what she sees today really makes her unable to hold back. The bully is bullying the same student again, and this time it's even worse. He puts a plastic bag over the boy's head, then backs up about 10 meters and sprints towards the student, delivering a kick that sends him flying into the wall. A noteworthy detail is that before acting, he uses a black cloth to cover the camera to avoid leaving unnecessary evidence. The boy convulses in pain, while Seemin angrily clenches her fists, determined to teach the bully a lesson. But a student stops her along the way. He advises Seemin not to get involved. "Teacher, don't get involved. His family has a company that invests in our school, his dad works at the prosecutor's office, and his mom's a lawyer. And right now, you're just a student teacher." Hearing this, Seemin hesitates for a moment. At this time, the bully is preparing to strike again. This time, he plans to jump up and kick the boy directly in the face. The boy is so scared he's trembling, but doesn't dare to move. Seemin looks at the bully smiling like a devil, and then looks at the pitiful student. Finally, she decides to help him. So when the bully, Soo-Kang, is rushing over, she pretends to be talking on the phone and walks by, then waits for the right opportunity. At the very moment the bully raises his leg high, she collides hard with his thigh. The bully falls to the ground in pain, and Seemin also pretends to be in a lot of pain, starting to act in front of the students. "Oh my gosh, that hurts so much. What are you doing here at this hour?" Then she removes the plastic bag for the boy. At this moment, Seemin realizes that the student being bullied is Jin-Hyeong from her class. So she pretends to be strict and orders Jin-Hyeong to immediately return to class. But without the bully's permission, the boy doesn't dare to move a single step. Helplessly, Seemin has to push him away. Seeing this, the bully gives her a murderous glare, and from that moment on, the feud between her and the bully is officially formed. Even though her acting skills are flawless, the bully can't tolerate even a grain of sand in his eye. That evening, Seemin is on her way home from work, thinking about whether it was right or wrong to stand up today, when suddenly she sees the bully chasing Jin-Hyeong's grandmother away in front of a roadside supermarket. It turns out that after the bully caused trouble that day, everyone was afraid that the old woman would affect their business, so they didn't dare let her sell in front of their shops, so she hadn't sold much by now. Seeing this, Seemin unhesitatingly buys all of the old woman's kimbap, for no other reason than that she's kind-hearted. This scene is seen by Jin-Hyeong standing in the distance. So early the next morning, he proactively seeks out teacher Seemin. Because she's the first person in the entire school to help him, he hopes that the teacher can help him, at least to help him survive. It turns out that the bully not only bullies Jin-Hyeong at school, but even after school, he continues to abuse him. Almost every day, he takes him to the boxing gym, treating him like a punching bag, beating him crazily. Jin-Hyeong has tried to find teachers and even reported it to the police station. But those things were not only useless, but also caused him to be beaten more brutally. Because of desperation, Jin-Hyeong has long had suicidal thoughts. Seemin wants to advise him to transfer schools, but the person who's doing wrong is clearly the bully. So why should he have to endure these things? Jin-Hyeong stubbornly insists on not transferring. He wants to see the day the bully is punished. Faced with his plea for help, Seemin really wants to help, but she's powerless. She can barely manage herself, let alone help others. Even the permanent teachers can't intervene, so what can a student teacher like her do? She tries to convince herself, thinking that she should just turn a blind eye and let it pass. As she eats the slice of cake she brought back from school, she finds it increasingly ridiculous, because the cake is to commemorate the school once again receiving the Excellence Award for preventing school violence, which was specially given to all teachers by the bully's mother. Faced with this mockery, Seemin, with her basic sense of justice, can't ignore it. Finally, she decides that, on the premise of not affecting her permanent job, she will find every way to help Jin-Hyeong. So the next day, she seeks out the bully. Seemin plans to approach him from an emotional standpoint, advising him not to bully Jin-Hyeong anymore, and that if he has any psychological trauma, he can talk about it. But who would have thought that Soo-Kang would go crazy after hearing this and raise his fist to strike? Clearly, Seemin's guess was correct, but the bully doesn't give her a chance to communicate. With this attitude from the bully, Seemin doesn't hold back anymore. She sends an anonymous letter of accusation directly to the education office. But who would have thought that as soon as the letter was sent, the whole school would be like a disturbed beehive, with teachers falling into panic. While Seemin is still wondering what's going on, a white Bentley speeds into the school. The students cheer when they see it because they know that if this person comes, all the teachers will be in trouble. And the person in the car is none other than the bully's mother. She storms into the office, loudly questioning who wrote the accusation, even lashing out at the supervisor and the head teacher. For the sake of their livelihoods, everyone is so scared that they don't dare to breathe loudly. Seeing that the bully's mother won't let it go until she finds the accuser, Seemin doesn't want to implicate others, so she suddenly kneels on the ground and proactively admits everything. "I'm sorry, the accusation letter was sent by me. Who do you think you are to dare to do that? Fire her immediately." Hearing that she's about to be fired, Seemin can only humbly beg for mercy. This scene is seen by the bully standing outside the door. Soo-Kang then warns Jin-Hyeong beside him. "If you dare to find someone to stand up for you again, I will torment you for the rest of your life. You can't escape." After saying that, he bites Jin-Hyeong's ear. Seemin's pleas have no effect, but when she thinks she's about to lose her job, the head teacher suddenly tells her that the other side has decided not to pursue the matter anymore. It turns out that the bully had just found the head teacher, telling him to absolutely not fire Seemin, because only then can he use his own way to torment her, thereby satisfying his twisted psychology. That evening, the bully finds Seemin at a convenience store, constantly teasing her shamelessly. He hugs Seemin and strokes her hair, and moreover, the followers constantly take pictures of her sitting on his lap. Before leaving, he threatens her not to be complacent. "I won't give you a second chance." For the sake of her job, Seemin has to swallow her anger and let it go. But who knew that as soon as she stepped out of the convenience store, she would encounter someone even more deserving of a beating. Clearly, he bumped into her first. Without apologizing, he turned around and slapped Seemin. "You idiot! Open your eyes when you're walking? Apologize properly." Memories of that bully flooded back into her head. Seemin doesn't understand why evil can be so easily concealed by money. And if justice is only for the rich, what are you thinking, you little brat? If you met my dad 2 years ago, you wouldn't have any teeth left to eat **tea with. Got it? As he spoke, he continuously hit her head. At this moment, Seemin's fighting instinct fully erupted. If this world has lost justice, then she can only use the method of fighting fire with fire, making them pay a heavy price. At this moment, Seemin raised her leg high, delivering a kick straight to the face of the guy, rendering him unconscious. Then she began her revenge plan. So she went home and found a cat mask, then followed the bully's trail, finally finding them at the basketball court. At this time, the bully, because of fighting in court, had a conflict with a group of young people who had gone out into society. They argued and quickly engaged in a fight. This just happened to create an opportunity for Seemin to appear. She took advantage of the two sides fighting fiercely. Seemin quickly put on the mask and locked her target onto the bully's figure. Without saying a word, She rushed up and delivered a kick that sent the bully flying. At this moment, Seamin felt very refreshed, while the bully was stunned. He questioned who the other person was, but all that responded to him was a meow, followed by a devastating punch and then another. Soo-Kang was quickly beaten to the point where he couldn't distinguish directions, and he saw the opponent provoking him. He went crazy and rushed forward, but how could he be a match for a boxing champion? With just a few moves, he was knocked to the ground. What bully had ever suffered such humiliation, and especially in front of so many of his followers? At this moment, he was completely enraged. This Soo-Kang vowed to tear off the opponent's mask to see who was inside. However, Seamin didn't give him a chance. She grabbed the bully's leg, which he had just kicked out, and performed a deadly spinning move on the spot, preparing to break his leg. The bully was in so much pain that he struggled to escape. He clenched his hands with a murderous look, but unfortunately, his strength was completely insignificant in front of Seamin, like throwing an egg against a rock. Both took a punch. Seamin was unharmed, while he had a mouth full of fresh blood. And just at this moment, the sound of police sirens rang out from afar. Seamin didn't dare to stay long because she was afraid of revealing her identity. The bully was also afraid of being caught, so he could only grit his teeth and run. After this satisfying fight, Seamin lay on the ground and laughed heartily. Little did she know that in the distance, a student was secretly observing her. He was a student in Seamin's class and had also been a target of the bully. But now, the way he looked at Seamin was filled with admiration. The next day, the news of the bully being beaten to a pulp spread throughout the school. Although they didn't know who the hero was, the students were all very happy. The teachers also talked about it a lot, and some even secretly mocked the bully, even drawing graffiti on his desk. This made the bully go crazy, and just as he was going crazy at the whole class, the homeroom teacher also walked in. When she sees the content on the desk, she tries to suppress a laugh, saying that changing desks is fine, and there's no need to get angry over such a small matter. Then she asks the bully to abide by the class rules. This makes the bully, who was already angry, even angrier, because this is the first time the homeroom teacher has ordered him to do anything. He understands that it's because he was defeated that he's being ridiculed by everyone. So he doesn't bother causing trouble anymore and leads a few of his followers out of the classroom. Afterward, Soo-Kang drives like a bat out of hell on the road. The followers next to him, afraid of dying in an accident, quickly offer the bully a sinister plan. If you're unhappy about anything, call Jin-Hyeong out and vent your anger. Anyway, taking him out and venting your anger will definitely be much more fun than this. And as the camera changes scenes, Jin-Hyeong has been stripped of all his clothes, his head covered with a plastic bag, and his body is scribbled with dirty words. The bully orders him to go to the fried chicken shop 1 kilometer away within 5 minutes to buy food. The temperature at that time was almost below zero, but even so, Jin-Hyeong had to run naked to the fried chicken shop, his whole body drenched in sweat. Without hesitation, he quickly orders the food as requested. The owner of the shop can't help but feel sorry when he sees his appearance. The part-time employee at the fried chicken shop, who was the first student to know Seamin's identity, takes his motorcycle at lightning speed to find Seamin and tells her that Jin-Hyeong is being bullied again. Then he gives her his jacket. If you don't wear a jacket, others might recognize your identity. I witnessed everything that day. You were the one wearing the mask and punishing Soo-Kang. I was the one who spread the news about you. I beg you, Seamin, please stand up and protect us from that gangster Soo-Kang. At the same time, the bully is preparing to post the video of him bullying Jin-Hyeong online to attract the attention of more perverts, finding friends with the same twisted interests as him. The follower next to him, on the surface, smiles at the bully, but in his heart, he thinks that this Soo-Kang is no different from a psychopath. It seems that these followers are by his side only because they fear his power. His actions have long reached the point where everyone resents him. Later, when Seamin arrives wearing the mask, the two engage in a fight. This time, the bully, because he's been suppressing his anger, also attacks faster. He and Seamin fight to a draw. At the same time, Jin-Hyeong buys the fried chicken and stands there stunned. It's been more than 5 minutes since long ago. He's afraid that when he returns, he'll be abused even more brutally. Now, he's like a balloon that, when squeezed to a certain extent, will explode. Seeing the knife on the chopping board in the kitchen, he decides to do something bold. If he's going to be beaten anyway, he'd rather resist to the death. In one hand, he carries the fried chicken, and in the other, he holds a knife. When he runs back to the beer hall, the bully has already been beaten by Seamin to the point where he has no strength left, giving Ji-Hyung a chance to strike. However, just as the knife is about to stab Seamin, she suddenly kicks the bully aside. She uses her own body to block this hateful stab, but she doesn't do it to save the bully, but to save Jin-Hyung. Because if this knife really stabbed Soo-Kang, Jin-Hyung's life would definitely be ruined. Therefore, even if she bleeds and gets hurt, she doesn't want Jin-Hyung's life to be destroyed. But the bully doesn't think about this at all. Soo-Kang is still wondering why the cat person just beat him up and then saved him. This only increases his desire to know who the other person is. He thinks that the person must be a male student in the school, so he mobilizes all of his followers to search for all the male students in the school. Anyone with bruises on their face or a knife wound on the back of their hand must be the masked person. But because it's causing too much commotion, many students have expressed dissatisfaction. One female student even stands up to confront them. "If you guys continue to mess around here, I'm going to call the police. Why do you have to make everything so chaotic? Are you guys doing this because you're too humiliated?" This sentence immediately angers the bully. Soo-Kang grabs the female student's hair and drags her in front of the whole school, intending to put on a show of killing the chicken to scare the monkeys. "You poor little teach, are you challenging my patience? If that ugly cat doesn't show up, I'm going to kill you." At the same time, in the teacher's office, the homeroom teacher gently tells Seamin that in just a few days, she can become a permanent teacher. For Seamin, this is absolutely surprising good news, but before she can be happy, a fan appears in a panic. A male student is playing with a self-balancing scooter in the hallway, but because he doesn't know how to brake, he crashes straight towards Seamin. She instinctively dodges, and this agile moment is just seen by the bully in the class. He immediately remembers that the person who fought him that night was the cat person, and the fact that Seamin is now supporting her arm further confirms the bully's guess. So without saying a word, he goes straight after Seamin's footsteps to the deserted library. Seamin had just finished telling her dad the good news that she's getting a permanent position, and when she turns around, she's pressed down on the table by the bully. Soo-Kang takes a black plastic bag and covers her head, making it difficult for her to breathe. Then, because he still wants to have fun with her, the bully forces Seamin to participate in a boxing match with him. "If you don't get in the ring, the video of that kid Jin-Hyeong stabbing me will be shown to the whole school, and what will happen if everything is revealed?" Faced with this blatant threat, Seamin doesn't want to agree, because once she fights, not only will her identity be exposed, but the opportunity to get a permanent position will definitely be gone. No school would accept a teacher who beats up students. The next day, Seamin goes to class to lecture, but she doesn't see Jin-Hyeong come to school. She goes to Jin-Hyeong's house with worry, only to find that Jin-Hyeong is now standing on the rooftop. He's very self-reproachful about the fact that he hurt the cat person, and at the same time, he's being tormented by the bully to the point where he can't breathe. Jin-Hyeong now just wants to end his life and say goodbye to this world that has disappointed him too much. Seeing this, Seamin quickly advises him, "Don't do anything stupid. If anything happens to you now, how will your grandmother live? You've done very well. Let's defeat the bad guys together. I'm going to organize a festival to punish the evil ones. You have to come and see me teach him a lesson." The festival that Seamin mentioned is the day of the match that the bully had set, because they heard that the cat person would punish the evil and protect the weak. The students who admired her all wore cat masks on this day. They all wanted to see the scene of the bully collapsing with their own eyes. Jin-Hyeong also came to school before the match started. Seeing this, Seamin went over and hugged him. By this time, Jin-Hyeong finally realized that the cat person was actually teacher Seamin, who had always helped him. At the same time, the bully is waiting in the ring. Because of this decisive battle, he has been training like crazy every day, even finding a boxing coach. And his efforts have indeed been effective. From the beginning of the match, he has the upper hand. Plus, Seamin's arm is already injured, so she is quickly beaten back repeatedly, and even her hat is snatched off by the bully. The moment her hair falls down, the students know that the cat person is actually a girl. So some people start to doubt her strength, but others worry about her. The bully, carrying the thought of pressing his advantage, continues to attack Seamin crazily. But he has forgotten a truth. Even a cornered dog will bite, let alone a professional boxer like Seamin. She takes advantage of the bully's leg, leaving an opening, and immediately grabs his leg and throws him to the ground. Then Seamin quickly gets up and delivers a flying kick straight to the bully, followed by a spin, causing him damage for the second time. Unexpectedly, the bully, who takes this kick, can stand up, which also ignites Seamin's fighting spirit. The situation has come to this. She feels that there is no need to pretend anymore. The moment the mask is removed stuns all the teachers and students. They can't believe that the lovely and sweet student teacher they know every day has such a fierce side. And the reason Seamin chooses to remove the mask is to tell all the oppressed that it's the silence behind that mask that allows perverts like Soo-Kang to bully them. So everyone present starts cheering for Seamin. Even the bully's followers turn on him and shout Seamin's name. And from this moment, the decisive battle of the two completely turns into a one-sided beating. She rushes up and continuously strikes Soo-Kang's head. Then she corners him. This scene makes all the students and teachers below cheer excitedly. Soo-Kang is now more bitter than eating chili peppers. He charges at Seamin, but our teacher easily dodges and punches him to the ground. The principal arrives in time and stops her from continuing. But the bully, Soo-Kang, who has been humiliated in front of everyone, chases the principal away and attacks Seamin again, to say he's fighting, but he's no different from a punching bag for the former boxing champion. Her kicks are not only beautiful but also extremely powerful. But Seamin, in a moment of carelessness, is punched by Soo-Kang into a corner. At this time, she spins 720 degrees and delivers a kick to his face, followed by the finishing move. She flies and delivers a beautiful kick that sends him flying out of the ring. The bully finally kneels in front of Jin-Hyeong. Seamin grabs his hair and forces him to apologize, but even though his face is swollen like a pig's head, the bully still acts arrogantly. But Jin-Hyeong doesn't need his apology, because the bully has now lost in front of everyone, which is no different from killing him. Turning around and leaving is the best way to get revenge on him. Seeing this, the bully flies into a rage. He angrily attacks Jin-Hyeong but is stopped by Seamin, who kicks him unconscious. At the end of the film, Seamin takes Jin-Hyeong to the police station to report the crime. The girl who used to follow the bully also proactively turns over the video recording of his criminal behavior. The evidence, once made public, immediately causes widespread attention in society. Finally, under public pressure, no matter how strong the bully's family background is, he can't escape the fate of being sent to a reform school. Seamin doesn't take a job at the school and goes to a new school to continue working as a student teacher, because through this event, she knows that the road to eliminating school violence is still very long and arduous. Today's story comes to an end here. Please leave your opinions about the movie in the comments below.